those countries in what might be called the Global South, who are reluctant to see international action to make their governments more accountable and less likely to cause or not deal with conflict properly, and human rights and the rule of law and so on, that we put some pressure on those countries to give some way here, and that they understand the need that their population should come before those in power. And so my role, the role I have chosen for myself really for these 2 years, is to try and be part of that campaign, and that's so that was the main reason I accepted the invitation. So I'm delighted to be here. In terms of what I've seen here, first of all, my impression before I came, I read a lot about the Philippines before I came. I knew some information, but I wanted to understand more clearly what was going on here before I arrived. And I was quite inspired by the fact that here is one of the few places in the world where those issues of climate change, conflict and development are all alive and integrated. So, you know, this is a country that is right in the centre of this global debate in terms of the issues that are facing government, local government, people, civic society, and the international community. So that, in some ways, that made the visit even more exciting for me, that I had a chance to engage with all of these issues in the one place. I want to say a little bit about Yolanda and the weekend. I spent the weekend in Tacloban and the surrounding area, and 5 farming areas as well as in Tacloban. And I mean, obviously there has been a fantastic effort to try and deal with the immediate impact of both the typhoon and the storm surge that came with it. And I don't want to diminish what has been done so far, because the people locally, certainly sections of local and national government and the international community have done a remarkable job in a short space of time to try and make life bearable for people who are living there. But I am deeply concerned about 3 things, I think it would be fair to say. The first is the scale of the work that is required to provide shelter for those that have lost their homes. The number of people affected by a loss of shelter is absolutely phenomenal, and the amount of work that's going to be required to provide even basic shelter for these people, as first of all the really hot weather comes this year, and then when the rains come, never mind in the longer term, is an absolutely massive task. And I think that what has been done so far, both by the international community and by the authorities here in the Philippines, is almost just scratching the surface. And I think we got some good reassurances yesterday from former Senator Lacson that they understand the scale of the problem and they're trying to mobilise the right resources to deal with this. But I think there needs to be a very strong signal sent out, both outside the Philippines and inside the Philippines, that this needs urgent, concerted action over a long period of time to provide people with the shelter that they require. The second issue is on food. It's not even just food, not even food security. It's basic provision of the opportunity to feed the family. On this, can I just say, and I mean, I'd be delighted if any of you want to write this in your blogs, if I go away from this country with one impression, and I will tell people about again and again and again, it is that when I met people at the weekend, no matter how desperate their circumstances were, they were not asking for food, they were asking for seeds. And all over the world I hear people asking for handouts. But here in the Philippines, people want the tools to do it themselves. And I'm really quite emotional about it. It was inspiring to meet these farmers who are not asking for people to come and deliver more food to them. They want seeds to grow food themselves and look after their families, and maybe also provide enough food to sell it in the market and bring the prices down in the market as well. And I just thought that was inspirational. Both the national authorities, the local authorities, and the international community needs to respond to that. And providing rice seeds is not enough. and providing more food is not enough. But after the international relief effort scales down in March, there is a desperate need, maybe even before that actually, there's a desperate need for the farmers, particularly in the rural communities there, to have cash crop seeds that they themselves can grow this year to feed their families and sell in the market, and in the longer term can help replace the farming income, the coconut farming income that is not going to be replaced for another 7 years until the trees grow again. So I think, to me, that is even more urgent than shelter. That is, and it's strategic. It's not good enough just to say more food or just rice seeds, because that's okay on the flatlands, but it's no use on the hill farms. And the coconut trees are now so far away in time that there needs to be immediate action for cash crops. And these farmers want to grow them. They do not want handouts, they want seeds so that they can start to rebuild their farming livelihoods. And similarly, the fishermen want the same thing in terms of boats. They don't want handouts, they want the facilities and the tools to get on with the job. And the third issue I wanted to mention is communication. Almost everybody that I met at the weekend had filled in a form at some point. Everybody knows that there's lots of assessing of needs going on by NGOs, by government, by the UN, and everybody was saying, okay, we've filled in enough forms, we need to know what's happening. Even if nothing is going to happen for a few months, we need to know what's happening so that we can plan for those few months and for the long term. And I think the issue of communication is absolutely essential. And again, we got some reassurance, I think yesterday, from former Senator Laxon, that he understands the importance of that communication issue. He's just appointed a communications director, I think, who's going to be taking this on board. But people need to be told what is coming next. Are there going to be seeds to get the farms started again? Is it going to be coconut farms, or is it going to be something else in its place, or are we going to try and mix it? What is going to happen about shelter? How long will people be in temporary shelters? When will there be a timetable for permanent shelters? And where can they go for information about their area and open up that dialogue? It is clear that some of the local government units are working well with people, some less well with people, and in that situation, the international NGOs and others and the government need to step in and make sure there's consistent communication. So those are my three issues: shelter, farm livelihoods, and communication. And I've already taken that message to the government through Senator Laxon yesterday, and I will, and to one or two of the international NGOs that I've spoken to in the last few days. I'm meeting the UN representative in the Philippines this afternoon, and I will certainly take this message back to the UK and other places when I leave at the weekend. So I suppose that's the summary of my visit so far. Can I just say, on Beyond 2015, there's about 18 months to go here, and for those of you who care passionately about this agenda and see its potential, and even for those of you who don't and who are just interested in writing because it's topical, I think this is, in 2020 and 2025 and 2030, we're going to look back on this 18 months as having made the difference one way or the other. And we're either going to regret not doing enough, or we're going to be very pleased that we did a lot and we achieved a lot. And there are people everywhere standing with you here in the Philippines who face these challenges of poverty, of climate change, and of conflict. And if we can unite enough of those people around the world over the next 18 months, then I really do think that this time round we can set a group of global targets and goals that are owned genuinely around the world, and that see significant reductions in emissions, in conflict, and in poverty by 2030. Go.